Speaking outside number 10 Downing Street after the official results were announced, Cameron said the issue of Scottish independence has been settled for a generation. He pledged to shake up the constitutional arrangements for the rest of Britain and honour a cross-party pledge to grant Scotland more powers on tax and spending. Draft laws granting Scotland new powers would be agreed by November and published by January. The two highlights of this week are the announcement of the Reserve Bank governor stepping down and the Scottish referendum. No doubt there will be plenty of tributes to Reserve Bank Governor Gill Marcus when she departs the bank on November 8th, when her 5-year term ends. And on Thursday, Marcus emphasized that there was a strong talent pool at the bank from which a successor could be chosen when announced, and her decision not to make herself available for a further term. And meanwhile, Scotland has rejected independence in a referendum, as I mentioned earlier on, that leaves the UK intact but opens the door to wider autonomy following a huge turnout. Preliminary results showed on Friday. Of course, the No camp was ahead by 55.42% to 44.5% for the Yes camp, with 31 out of 32 local areas counted. So the No campaigners across Scotland cheered as the result came in, while the Yes activists watched dejected and in tears. So to talk about these two issues, we are joined by Trademark Futures Chief Investment Officer, Lavan Gopaul. Thank you very much for joining us and good afternoon to you.
Greetings and to you and your viewers.
All right, let's start on the Scottish front. The referendum, what do you make of the No result and the economic implications?
Firstly, the number of the citizens that had registered to vote tallied almost 97%. So there was substantial support in terms of the system. The outcome of the event concludes that the Scottish wish to remain a part of the United Kingdom. More importantly, are some of the business takeaways from this. Ahead of the election, you saw uncertainty from a currency point of view and continued weakness for a few days on the British pound. As the news was announced, there was a correction of that. You saw some interest coming through for their equities as well, and that showed you something of a boost in terms of a number of European and Asian markets as they celebrated the conclusion of the Scottish vote. It has opened the door to a theme of secession. There is breakaway talks now in Spain as EU legislators have to decide on the possibility of Catalonia being seceded from Spain. And this may very well create a disturbance within the European complex.
All right. Now, back home, what do you make of the term of Gill Marcus at the SARB? And, of course, the debate around the succession issue there. What do you think is going to happen?
This has been a particularly proud reign in terms of her leading the SARB during a period of 40-year lows on interest rates. What is likely to happen now is a search for a successor. Many have already made comments that existing members on the board may well be tipped to succeed as the head of the SARB. You will also notice that her decision yesterday was quite bold to go flat on interest rates. The market had already captured an indication of 0.25% increase in interest rates. She'd already given us an indication ahead of the announcement, and in her speech, she made mention of the fact that slow growth had been a tipping point for the committee.
Well, just very briefly, there was expectation that she would continue into the second term, but to the disappointment of many, she did not. But of course, she's got impeccable credentials, given her saving the private sector as a chairman of, for example, all the institutions that she has led, teaching at Gibbs, and of course, now at the Reserve Bank, she's leaving. Will it all be lost?
Well, bear in mind that South Africa has occasioned a series of political appointments in key positions in Treasury as well as at the South African Reserve Bank. Maybe on this occasion it may usher in a neutral party and someone that comes from an academic background or possibly someone on that committee. But whilst her contribution was meaningful, it is now the search for the new leader of the Reserve Bank.
All right. Lavan, just very briefly, I'm out of time. Let's look at what's going to happen now because the South African Reserve Bank left the interest rates unchanged. What should we expect from now on until the next announcement?
There has been a theme from the Reserve Bank to take a proactive approach to rates. What is likely to happen is a study of whatever economic data comes through. Certainly, any move to increase interest rates may put a throttle on growth in the economy. And so as long as we are in a place of slow growth, labored with some of the living costs that were also made mention yesterday, it's likely that we're going to go flat on rates.
All right. Lavan, thank you very much for making time to speak to us this afternoon. Of course, Lavan Gopaul is the Chief Investment Officer at Trademark Futures, talking to us about the issue of the two stories that are trending this week, the Scottish vote, the referendum, voting no. And of course, they are going to remain part of the United Kingdom. And of course, the Reserve Bank governor going to step down.